Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. So today in this video I have a couple Amazon printed books and I've got a few of my budget-friendly pencils over here. I've already picked out some color combinations and I just finished filming a video where I tested some of these pencils out in some of the Amazon printed books. I'll link that one in the upper right hand corner. In this video I want to share a really fun hack or some tips and tricks on how you can get your budget-friendly colored pencils to work and perform a little bit better. That video was a pretty quick, short video, but for this one, we are going to go much more in depth, and I'm going to show you a couple different ways that you can help your budget-friendly pencils to perform a little bit better, blend a little bit better, cover that white of the paper, and get the look you want with that pop of highlight, all the depth and dimension that you want for your objects on your coloring pages. I am going to use the Amazon books. I have Hula Hotties here by Deborah Muller, as well as Chubby Fairies, because these are a couple of the books that I have done in my series where I'm testing a bunch of different budget-friendly pencils in the Amazon books. And I just finished filming the other video and I tested the Crayolas out, and I told you all in that video that I was going to bring the leaf that I colored in that video to the next video so that we could experiment with it a little bit. So this video is going to be quite a bit of an experiment for me as well. I'm not just going to be testing one colored pencil. I have 3 different colored pencils here. They are the same ones that I tested in my previous video. I have the Castle Arts, I also have the Mark Arts, and then of course I have the Crayolas. If you check the description box down below, you will find everything down there that you see in this video, as well as links to my email list, my Facebook group, my Etsy shop, and my Patreon if you would like to support me there. I also now have channel membership. You can find more out about that by clicking the join button down below the video. I'm going to start in Deborah Muller's Chubby Fairies. And I use this book for a lot of my testing because this one came from Amazon and it was misprinted. You can see that the pages are on the front and back, and the books are not supposed to come like that. So I've been using this one as a tester book and for some tutorials recently. These are the leaves that I just colored in my previous video, and so this video is kind of a continuation of that one. This was done with the Mark Arts, this one was done with the Castle Arts, and this one here was done with the Crayolas. Okay, so if you saw that previous video, you saw that I tested the Crayolas, and I wasn't able to get a whole lot of colors down here to be able to create all that depth and dimension. Now we all know the Crayolas are a very budget-friendly set, but they are a classic at the same time. And there are some colors in that set that you will not find in any other sets. I've done some great tutorials using the Crayolas in the Maria Trolle books. Those pencils work beautifully in those books without having to try any little hacks or tips and tricks or anything like that. The colors just blend together really, really well. They move around on the paper, but on this particular paper in the Amazon book, I could not get the color to move around the way that I wanted it to. And it was a little bit resistant after I got some layers down there. And in certain parts of the leaf, you could see, like right here, let me go ahead and zoom y'all in. But on certain parts of the leaf, like right here, you could see that there is definitely not a smooth transition. I couldn't get the colors to blend together the way that I wanted to. So I'm gonna try this little hack on this Crayola leaf to see if it does the trick and allows me to be able to lay more colors down. Now this is my white Prismacolor, and I feel like most of us have this pencil. And if you don't have this pencil, you could buy these in packs of 12 on Amazon, so you can have plenty of white Prismacolors. Now I used to use this white Prismacolor a whole lot to burnish my colors in the end after I colored something, and I didn't like the white film that it put over my final product when I'm using my Prismacolors, and I didn't like the shine and the look that it gave to the objects on my coloring pages, so I've stopped using it for that. And over time I have come to just use my lightest color to blend my colors together. But the one thing that this pencil is absolutely fantastic for is adding a bit of white onto the objects of your coloring pages if you want that extra bit of pop of highlight, or for this, to be able to mix it with your budget-friendly pencils to make them perform as though they were artist grade colored pencils Most of us know that a lot of the artist grade pencils, specifically the Prismacolors and especially the Caran d'Ache Luminance, blend together with ease. They blend together beautifully. There's absolutely no effort. But you can make your budget-friendly pencils do exactly the same thing. And that is by using this white Prismacolor. Now, I've never tried this trick on the Crayolas, but we're going to go ahead and try that now together. So I'm just going to take my white Prismacolor and go over this and see if it will allow me to get more color down here. And look at that. It is lightening it up and adding that layer of white on there that I really don't like so much, but it's also blending those colors together absolutely beautifully, and I could not get them to do that. So I'm going to do it over all of these leaves. I'm just going to use the white Prismacolor to pull the colors together, and look, it's actually allowing me to lay more of this down, but when I was using the actual Crayolas, it would not allow me to lay any more color down onto the paper. Now, what this is doing is, because this white Prismacolor is so waxy, it's actually adding a layer down there, which is going to make it much easier for me to come back and lay the Crayola colors right back on top of it. And hopefully we're going to see that it allows these colors to move around just a little bit more because of that layer from the white Prismacolor. So the colors that I did originally use for this leaf are Forest Green, Fern, and Screamin' Green. And so I'm going to take my darkest color and I'm going to try to add a little bit more depth and dimension. I'm going to go in a circular motion, and if you watched that video, you saw that I actually had to come back and add gray in to give this leaf a lot of extra depth and dimension. But we are going to fix all of that now. I might go ahead and grab my gray, but you can see now, or hopefully you could see now, that these colors are just blending together, and it's allowing me to add that color right back down there and allowing me to blend those colors together even more. All because of that waxy white layer from the Prismacolor. But it totally works, and it's awesome. It's an awesome little hack to be able to get your colors to blend together seamlessly. And when you're using your more budget-friendly sets and you've got issues with your hand or pain in your hand and you just can't use a harder pencil, this is the perfect little hack to be able to use so that you can buy all these budget-friendly sets that have all of these amazing colors in them, especially the Crayolas. Now I'm going to come back again and I'm going to use my mid-tone and I'm going to add some more of this down there. And it's actually allowing me to blend more of this color in, all because of that Prismacolor. But this in and of itself is one of the reasons to just have some white Prismacolors, even if you don't have the Prismacolor set or any of the Prismacolors. I will have a link down in the description box below, but you can go on Amazon, buy yourself a set of 12 white Prismacolors, and it's only $14.40. Believe me when I say that you will go through your white Prismacolors so quickly because they are good for so many things. But this is one of my white Prismacolors, and I have many like this. I have a hack on my channel where I show you how to put two of the Prismacolors together. This is actually two Prismacolors. That's why it is sharpened on both ends, but I use my Prismacolors down to the very last piece. And if you're using a whole lot of budget sets, you want to make sure that you've got those white Prismacolors just to be able to do this. Now, if I wanted to come back again on this one with my gray that I had used in my previous video, I couldn't get enough depth and dimension down here, so I did come back with this gray. This is actually called Ash, but it is a cool gray. I know there's a lot of new people here, and so if you've not seen some of my previous videos where I show how to use grays to create extra depth and dimension, the way that you would do that is if you are working with cool colors, like in this situation here, green is a cool color, so I grabbed a cool gray. Your cool grays are going to have a bit more blue in them, so they work to be able to add that extra bit of depth and dimension. If you're working with warm colors such as reds, then you would grab a warm gray to add the extra bit of depth and dimension. But we're going to see if it will allow me to come back over here and add even more. And look at that, it's letting me just lay more of that color down and add a little bit more depth and dimension. And then I would have to come back with my darkest green color and sort of blend that out a little bit just to make that transition quite a bit smoother. But that's how you would go through the entire leaf and just add that color back in, because the Prismacolor is going to whiten it up a little bit. So you would just add that layer of white Prismacolor, and then you would come back with your other colors, and you've got a whole lot of depth and dimension. And really that white Prismacolor is just allowing you to be able to move that color a little bit more when it gets resistant. And I feel like a whole lot of the white of the paper is now covered, and we have a whole lot of depth and dimension. And this one looks much more like these other two that I tested with the other budget-friendly pencils. Again, this one here was the Castle Arts, and this one here is the Mark Arts. With the Mark Arts, I did come back and use a gray. In this case, I used a cool gray to add a bit of extra depth and dimension. But with the Castle Arts, I didn't need to do that at all. The Castle Arts worked really, really well in this book. Now, I did pick some other colors. I actually chose some really pretty colors because we are going to test out the Mark Arts, and we are going to see how our blender pencils perform. And I'm going to try a couple different blender pencils on these in a couple different sections of the leaves. So we're going to see which blender pencil performs better. I have my Caran d'Ache blender pencil, and I also have my Prismacolor blender pencil. So for this part of the video, we are going to try to test it out with the blender pencils, and maybe for one section of the leaf we'll try our white Prismacolor. So I think I'm going to come down here, since this one's still fairly close to these and we've got plenty of space, or plenty of open space, to be able to test these colors out, because I did pick 4 colors. I got a little bit more daring this time. And I wanted to use like oranges and reds and colors like that. These are really bright, beautiful colors. So this is my swatch chart. This is the one I created. I do have a video where I put all of these in color family order. I'll make sure that's linked in the upper right hand corner. The swatch chart is available in my Etsy shop, but I put all of these in my perfect color family order, the way I see them. I know we all see color differently, but I love the way that this turned out. And when you download it from my Etsy shop, it will already have all of the numbers and all of the names already all there for you. So you just have to swatch them out. And I believe I also have a copy in my Etsy shop of this actual chart just like this, for those of you that don't like to swatch your pencils. Now the colors that I chose are N091. That is this light salmon right here. And then the next color I chose was N051. So that's the salmon pink right here. So we've got the salmon pink and the light salmon. Those look really pretty together. Then I added in N120, which is this deep skin red over here, which is really, really pretty. And you could see how it looks up right next to that salmon pink. They're really pretty together. And then for a pop of red, I added in the N007, and that one is down here. It is the brick red. So those I think are going to look really pretty together, and I think we're going to go ahead and work on this leaf here. Now remember, this one here I used blues. This was also the Mark Arts, but we are going to do something a little bit different here. So I'm laying down the lightest color, and I think as I lay these colors down, since I've already done this in the last video, I'm going to go ahead and speed this part up to music just so you could see the leaf come together. And then after all the colors are laid down, I'm going to come back and show you all the little tips and tricks, and we're going to test out a few of the blenders and the white Prismacolor. Okay, so for this leaf, I'm going to stop right here because I feel like I need to bring in another color, because I don't think that this red is going down dark enough onto the paper. So we really need something that's going to add a lot more depth and dimension to this leaf. So I have my swatch chart here, and this one is N007, so it's this red here. And so we need to add something that's really going to make this pop. So I think I'm going to bring in one of these colors here, maybe this garnet red. I don't know if that's going to be too much, but we're going to try it. Okay, so let's go ahead and see what we can do to this one here. And it is still taking the color, and I want to get it to the point where it won't take much of the color anymore. And a lot of the white of the paper has been filled. And I am using a little bit harder pressure now to get some of that color down there. And then I think I'm going to just come back with probably my lightest color and blend some of this out. Or actually, maybe not the lightest color. I'll use this one here. This was my second lightest. And I'm already seeing here where I can't pull the colors or blend them together and create a smooth transition a whole lot anymore. I see a little bit of that right here and right here. So we're really going to be able to test out these the white Prismacolor as well as these blender pencils and see if they fix that issue for us. And I'm not trying to be very artistic. I'm just laying the colors down like I did in the previous video in the same order so that we could do these little tests. I'm going to come back and lay a little bit more of my darkest color, but the paper is getting to the point where it just will not let me add any more color. And then let me come back here with my lightest color, because this one also gives it a little bit of a contrast. And I see like a little line right here where the color's just not blending out the way I would want it. And I have a lot of crumbs too, so let me go ahead and use my brush and get those out of the way. But these are not a crumbly pencil until you get quite a bit of color down there onto the paper. And I am to the point now where I cannot get any more color down there. So we're going to go ahead and test out these blenders and the white Prismacolor. And I think for this one, I'm going to use something different in each one of these sections, just so that we could really see the difference between the blenders and the white Prismacolor. So I have my Prisma blender, and right here, I could see that this color is not blending together the way that I would want it to. So let's go ahead and test this out here. And it smoothed that out really nicely. And it gave it a much more seamless blend there. But it also lightened our color up at the same time. And I'm wondering if the Caran d'Ache blender is going to do the same thing. I'm just coming back and adding some more of my color there and then blending it out again. And your blenders are going to create a little bit of crumb on the paper. Okay, so let's try the other blender now and see which one works better. So over here, you can see that the transition is not very smooth at all. Hopefully you can see that on camera. But I'm going to come back here with my Caran d'Ache blender, and I'm going to go over this and blend it out and see how it works. It is spreading the color around and it is blending it together much better, but you can see that the color is still there with the Caran d'Ache blender, and it actually lightened this up quite a bit with the Prismacolor blender. So this right here was the section we did with the Prismacolor blender, and this was the Caran d'Ache blender. And you can see a pretty big difference between the two. This one pretty much got rid of that really dark red that I used and blended all of the colors together, but it lightened it up quite a bit. The Caran d'Ache blender did not do that. It just blended the colors together, and I still can see that extra bit of my darker color right there. So that is really interesting. I've never actually tested out those two blenders side by side or ever even noticed that. Now we're going to come back with our Prismacolor, and we're going to add a whole lot, or try to add a whole lot more depth and dimension to this. And I am going to add the layer of Prismacolor so that I'm able to get more colors down onto this leaf, because to me, when I look at this leaf, you could see that the colors are blended together, but this doesn't have nearly as much depth and dimension as, say, this leaf right here that I did with the Castle Arts. And this is the other one that I did with the Mark Arts, and this one had more depth and dimension because I did come back with a gray for this one, and I may do that here. Actually, let me go ahead and grab a warm gray. Maybe we can grab a warm gray and give this one a little bit more depth and dimension before we come back with the white Prismacolor. Maybe we'll try this color called Noir right here. So let's go ahead and add a little bit of this in here and see if we can get some of this down there. But it's really not allowing me to add a whole lot more. I'm just going to go over this with my darkest red, but it's not allowing me to lay much more color down here at all. And I'm using much harder pressure at this point. And in the places where I've added my darkest color to create all that extra depth and dimension, it's just not allowing it. Okay, so we're going to try the white Prismacolor hack and see if this makes a difference. So I'm just going to go over every section of the leaf, and I'm going to lay a layer of this white Prismacolor. And again, all it's doing is not just blending some of these colors together, but it's adding a layer of that wax down onto the paper so that we can come back with our budget set and we can get a little bit more out of them. I have my darkest red that I used, and I'm just gonna come back in here and try to add. Oh wow, and look at that. Oh my goodness. So it's allowing me to add a whole lot more of that color. Look at the difference. I hope y'all can see that. But I am able to move that color around just a little bit more. And then I think I want to add just a little bit more of this color because this is the color that's really going to make it pop. And I'm just going to blend these colors together now that I've got that extra wax down there from the white Prismacolor. But I will also add that these mark arts are not the best performers in the Amazon books. If you watched my last video, you will see that I did have to come back with the gray to get the colors to perform the way that I wanted them to. But a lot of times also when you're using reds are a little bit more difficult to work with. At least I feel that way. And it looks like I have a whole lot more layers down here than I did on this blue one that I did with the mark arts. I did notice that the blue was a lot easier to work with. You can go back and watch my previous video and you will see that they were definitely easier to work with. I don't know why I chose reds. I just wanted to add a little bit of color to the page. But it still worked with this little quote unquote hack, and we were able to discover the difference between the Caran d'Ache blender and the Prismacolor blender. And I'm not even sure that I will be, I mean, I already don't use my Prismacolor blenders all that often because I don't feel the need to use them. A lot of times I just use my lighter color and blend the colors together. But this was pretty interesting because this Caran d'Ache full blender, they're absolutely amazing. The issue is that I don't know if you could still get these. I think they changed their blender. You can still get Caran d'Ache blenders, but I don't know about this one specifically. I think it is still the same blender that you can get now. It just looks different on the outside. So I went and grabbed the other Caran d'Ache blender. And this is the other one, and what it looks like, it has wood on the outside. And I think that's why this one is called full blender. This one just says pencil blender on it, but I think this one has whatever is on the inside of this one throughout the whole entire thing. And I think that is really the only thing that they changed. So I did grab some more colors for this video from the Castle Art set. I have Purple Deep, Bengal Rose, and Azalea Pink. And I will tell y'all, I'm really impressed with the way that the Castle Arts performed in this book. They were my absolute favorites. This one was done with the Castle Arts, and I did pick colors that were a little bit different, but we're gonna go ahead and test those out over here and see what we could do with these. And I think this time I'm going to test the two different Caran d'Ache blenders because this is the one that you can still get. So I'm just going to add my lightest color in every section of the leaf. But honestly, y'all, if I had to pick a pencil or a pencil set that I wanted to use in the Amazon books, I would honestly go with the Castle Art set or the 120 Brut Funers. They performed the absolute best. And I don't know what happened down here with the mark arts, but I absolutely did not like how the reds performed in here. Now that I've tested out the reds, the blues in the mark art set, you can go back and watch that video, but they did perform okay in this book. I just wasn't able to get all the depth and dimension that I wanted to with that colored pencil set. And I'm going to show you now how the Castle Arts work here in this book, but it is a much different experience. So let me just add this second color down in here. And I might go ahead and speed some of this up because I'm sure this video has gone on quite long already, and I did already test these pencils in this book. So let's see what it looks like. I got this one nice and sharp. Of course, I used my jar link, and it gave me a nice, beautiful, sharp lead. And I'm just going to come in here and start trying to add a little bit of depth and dimension. But these lay down in these books like a dream. They honestly do. And you could see all that color going down immediately. The second they touch the paper, you can see the color. But I wanted to be able to test these out too and see what happens once we come in with that white Prismacolor. And y'all, these don't even really need the white Prismacolor, but some of the pencils do. They worked wonderfully with those Crayolas. Okay, so I have a few layers down there. I probably could get more. I definitely could get more. You could see over here on this one that was done with these pencils, I was able to get a whole lot of color down there, and it just kept moving around beautifully. But I want to be able to test out the blenders, and I want to be able to test out both of them, both of the different Caran d'Ache blenders, to see if this one is pretty much the same as this one. So I'm going to try two different sections of this, and we're just going to see if they're any different. So I'm going to do this section here and this section here since they're a little bit bigger, but I'm going to come in here with this one. This is the one we didn't use yet. And I'm going to go in a circular motion and just sort of blend these colors together. But they are blending together very nicely. And you could see they're not doing what the Prismacolor did, where it took away some of the color. That worked out really nicely. So let's go ahead and use this one. And yeah, I think it's pretty much the same. This one's blending the same way as the other did. I don't really see any difference. I honestly think that this full blender is the same as this blender here. And I think that they just probably wanted to save money, and so they put a wood casing around it, and it's less product. Okay, so now let's see what we could do with this leaf with the white Prismacolor. So first, I'm going to go over here, over the areas where I wanted to keep it white, and I wanted to be able to use the white of the paper, and I'm just going to sort of pull that down into the other sections. Look how pretty that is. Oh, I love it. So I think for this one, I'm not necessarily going to try using it the other way that I already showed you. I think I'm just going to use it to show you how you could add these extra highlights, because the Castle Arts really don't need it. But look how when I go over these different sections here where I wanted to use the white of the paper, it just intensifies that highlight and it brings the colors together at the same time. And so this is why it's always so important to have your white Prismacolors. And I'm still going over some of those other sections. So I am going to come back now and I'm going to go back over some of that and see how the Castle Arts perform now that I have that layer of wax over there. Oh my gosh, look how much that color intensifies with these. Okay, y'all, I think I said that the Castle Arts really don't need this, but look at the difference. I am able to add so much more color and it just moves around. I mean, the Castle Arts already did move around quite a lot before, but now they're moving around, or the pigment is moving around a whole lot more. What a huge difference. So I'm just going to come in here where I want to see more added depth and dimensions. The color does lay down very nicely, and I find that I could add a lot more color down than any of the other pencils that I have tested in the Amazon books. I'm going to come back with my lightest color and just sort of blend some of that out. But you could see that the color is just moving around so nicely. And it's not even just that white Prismacolor with the Castle Arts. It's the actual pencils themselves. You could see right here that I had a little space that I really needed to blend out. And I just went over it with the lightest color after laying down that Prismacolor, and it just blended out so nicely. And if I wanted to just continue to keep coming back, I could totally do that. But I think that it is really, really pretty. Just for the sake of the video, I'll show you that I can come back here and the color is still laying down onto the paper. Look at that. And then if I wanted to intensify those highlights, I can just come back and add a little bit more of that white and blend all those colors out. But the white Prismacolor not only helped to blend some of those colors out, it also helped to add a little bit more of a highlight, which is really pretty. And this is the Castle Art that I used the white Prismacolor with. And this is the Castle Art that I didn't use the white Prismacolor with. So you'll have to tell me down in the comments below which one you like better. Some of us like the more textured look a little bit better, which I feel like this looks a lot more textured. And then some of us do like this look here where it's blended out a lot more and it's been burnished in. And of course that's going to give it a little bit more of a glossy look. but it's really all up to the colorist what you like best. So this was a really fun video. I really enjoyed trying some of these things out. I will say that I was not happy with the way that the mark art reds worked in this coloring book. I also feel like when I use my Prismacolors and I pull out my reds or my oranges, they do go down much differently, and they are quite a bit more waxy, I feel like, than some of the other colors in the set. So I don't generally think it's just the budget sets. I really honestly feel like it just has to do with something with the reds or the oranges. But I love how the mark arts looked here. Like I said, I did have to come back and add a little bit more depth and dimension with the grays. I loved how the castle arts worked. I love this look, and I love this look as well. And I really enjoyed doing this video because it was quite the experiment for me. The white Prismacolor made the Crayolas look absolutely beautiful. There was a huge difference there. I should have taken a before and after picture so I could have put it up here. But I did not. If you go back and look at my last video, you can see how that Crayola leaf looked when it was done before I added the Prismacolor, the white Prismacolor, or did anything at all to it. I hope y'all enjoyed this series of videos. You'll have to let me know which leaf you like best, what you thought about the different tips and tricks and hacks I shared. And I thought it was really interesting what I discovered about the blenders. I just thought that was really interesting that Prismacolor actually blends the colors in, but lightens them up a whole lot. And the Caran d'Ache blender did not do that. So if I am going to use a blender, I am going to be using my Caran d'Ache blender or blenders. And I'm probably not going to be using the Prismacolor blender because I have always noticed that about the Prismacolor blender, but I never actually put them up one right against another blender. And I'm going to have to purchase some more blenders to really see the differences between them. I've heard a lot of people say a lot of good things about the Derwent blender. I'm going to have to buy one of those and see if there is a difference between that one and the Caran d'Ache blender. If you have any other blender suggestions, please put those in the comments below. I think it will not only help me to maybe try out some other blenders and film a video doing that. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. I will see you in the next one. Happy coloring. Bye.